Diamonds in the rough. NFL Draft Diamonds. Time to shine.
Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds, and today I have with me a diamond in the rough. His name is Kevin Ventura Cortes. He's a tight end out of Concordia St Paul. What's up, buddy?
What's up, my man? How you doing?
Doing all right. Had to have a little bit more locks than I do. There used to be a time and day when I had a little something, but then I just had to get old. So, totally jealous. But hey, anyhow, bro, let's go ahead and paint the backdrop a little bit about you and your experience as a football player. Tell me maybe where you're from and how you eventually got there to Concordia St. Paul.
Yes, sir. So originally, I am from Southern California, as you mentioned. I went to a small school in Anaheim, California. It's called Savannah High School, home of the Rebels. Took the community college route, as many people do before. A little bit of St. Anna College. Ended up at Cerritos College. Played a little bit up there. Established my presence, and I ended up being top 7 ranked in the nation at my position as a tight end, hybrid wide receiver. And ultimately, I ended up out here in Concordia St. Paul, Minnesota. Still playing tight end and being a versatile player, and just trying to be a chess piece for my team and helping them out. It's been an experience, it's been a journey, but I'm just grateful for it all, truthfully.
Cool. So let's backtrack a little bit. I'm just kind of curious. I mean, growing up there, like in high school, did you play any other positions outside of a tight end?
To be honest, you probably won't believe me, but I started off as a free safety. 6'4" was a free safety, and ultimately was making my way down to an outside linebacker to a DN, and I was actually defensive MVP of my high school team. And funny to say, but we ran a wing T when I was there, so which is why I was a defensive player mainly. But I was also returning punts, and I was on every special team. So it's kind of always been, a versatile piece for me, just playing all over the field.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you play in certain schemes like positions like yours, I mean, they get lost, and so like that's part of the reason why like sometimes guys like you, in the whole recruiting process, it just doesn't always work out. And so like I do find it kind of interesting though, like being actually a defensive player, like ending up as a tight end. How did that happen? How did you end up as a tight end?
Well, I knew ultimately I loved route running and just watching some of my favorite players in the NFL and some of my teammates and just how much fun they looked out there running routes and catching the ball. And then just having my own experience as well. Just knowing coming out of high school, I was coming from a small school and I had aspirations to go play at the college level. I only had one Division II offer to Black Hills State, which was only a partial. And ultimately, I was looking at being a walk-on as a defensive player, but I knew in my heart that wherever I go, I wanted to get a full ride scholarship at the end of it. And it just turned out when I went to the community college, tight end was calling my name and just going out there and running some routes and building my confidence. It played out from there. The story was written for me.
Yeah, I mean, with a guy of your stature, I mean, obviously, like if they don't have any room for you, like on the defense, they just throw you out there at tight end and throw you a couple passes, and it seemed like you were doing a good job. You end up getting noticed by Concordia St. Paul and end up going out there. So, um, just kind of curious. I mean, last season, the big name coming out of Concordia St. Paul was actually Chris Garrett. So obviously a player that a lot of people know as a highly touted All-American in Division II. So I'm assuming at one point or another you guys bumped heads a little bit, right? Can you kind of share some stories there?
I wouldn't say we necessarily bumped heads, not even on the field. We would bump heads off the field, maybe on our Walmart trips. You know what I mean? Just, are we getting peanuts or we're getting almonds type of deal? Because we were both on the same grind, supporting each other. Man, he's my brother. That's one of the guys I call my brother for life. We became best friends. And even throughout this process now, he's been one of my backbones, supporting me, encouraging me to step out my comfort zone and step it up a notch, just because there is big shoes to fill at Concordia St. Paul. And like him, he was also a hybrid player, trying to figure out some spots where he can truly shine. And I mean, I didn't really get to go up against him as much in practice. We go against our own scout teams, but I just know having a guy like him and his presence and his image and just his voice and who he is, and not just as a football player, but as a person. That dude is contagious. That dude is amazing. And I think that's what a lot of people are going to remember for him for. Not, I mean, you can't knock his football career because that dude is one of a kind for sure.
Gotcha. Anybody else there at St. Paul we need to keep our eye out on for the years to come?
I mean, it's a really young class now, a really, really young class. And with the COVID year going on, but I think coming in, I think maybe the quarterback, we got a guy named Connor Cortez, and he's just a young man who's, coming out the pocket, stepping in the pocket. And I think he's going to do some damage for years to come.
Interesting. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's circle back to you as a prospect. I mean, obviously, again, a tight end. So, what do you feel separates you a little bit? I mean, you kind of chatted a little bit there at the beginning, with regards to maybe perhaps some versatility. What would you say is like the best thing that you have going for you? Is it that, or perhaps is it something else?
I think that's one of the main things for me is the versatility and just being, I'm like a chess piece, and being able to do mismatches and schemes, in particular schemes. I know I'm more of you can flex me out, you can put me in the wing, you can put me on the line. And the thing is you may look at me and be like, oh, he can't block. I actually love blocking, and not just being on the offense, but I love to be on special teams. I would love to go being on the shield. Like, I think that's one piece of me is that you can fit me anywhere and I will have an advantage because just my size, my height, and just my confidence and my ability. I think I'm able to run a route as good as I am able to block. And there's strengths and weakness to everybody, but I think I'm pretty well rounded, to be honest.
Interesting. Would you ever go back to being a defensive player? I mean, I know it's been a minute, but I mean, have you thought about it?
I would truly consider it. I know those guys just growing up and just the whole college career, they're tenacious. Those guys, the way they train and their whole mindset and how they go about things is completely different from an offensive player. So I think it would definitely test me, but I think I got the confidence enough to go give it a try. But I think I'm excelling where I am now, and I would,
Sure. Well, I mean,
I'm more.
I was just thinking that maybe when you were growing up, like you were probably more so idolizing guys like that were playing a defensive position. But I mean, obviously that shifted hopefully a little bit now, with you being, there on offense. So, who are we looking at? Like, who are you looking at the pros that you're aspiring to be? Like, who are you studying in order to make your game even better?
As a tight end, I like looking at guys like George Kittle because he can do the run game and the block game. But even guys like Zach Ertz, who just bring in another edge, and Darren Waller, because Darren Waller started off as a special teams guy, type of speed receiver. And, he just now is all over the place, excelling on the field. And I think that's kind of where I kind of want to, pace my path a little bit and be able to, familiarize myself with them. But I think at the end of the day, I have my own creativity and my own game that maybe is a little different and maybe not exactly the same. And I just love learning from them and watching their technique and how they have fun with it. Honestly, I think that's a big thing we miss sometimes is when we're studying so hard, watching film and watching these guys go and playing the compare game, we forget to have fun with it. So I think that's a big thing for me is just I love to have fun with it, and watching those guys, I think that's the big takeaway for me.
So, I mean, being a guy from Cali, would that basically mean that you're more of a Niners fan, or where does that sit?
Well, I'm actually a Chargers fan, to believe it or not, an original San Diego Charger fan,
Oh,
but I'm
okay. Well,
from LA.
yeah. Well, I mean, I get you. So, I mean, way back in the day, I mean, you're talking about like, probably one of the better, tight ends out there, Antonio Gates. So, I
Right.
mean, uh, being also like a really a former basketball player, kind of like yourself. I mean, maybe not to the extent of him, but I do know that you played some basketball and some track and field there in high school. So, you want to chat about those experiences real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So I ended up playing playing basketball all 4 years of high school, excuse me. I started as a varsity player my sophomore year, and I just continued to play varsity all the rest of my years after being a sophomore. And then I also did track and field starting my sophomore year. And I ran the hurdles, I ran the 110s and I ran 300s, just putting myself out there and trying to compete and keep that competitive nature going, and just trying to bring my game up to another level. And, football was always the goal, but it was always fun being with your buddies and your teammates that also did crossover sports or multiple sports. And it was just a good time.
Well, I mean, it's always nice to kind of cross train anyway. So, I
Exactly.
do think that that's neat. So, Um, so Kevin, a cool thing was, after your time there at Concordia, you end up getting an invite to the College Gridiron Showcase at their small school showcase. So why don't you kind of give us a little something from your time there? Any sort of story you want to share?
I think the biggest story that I have going in there is that I went in with a group of guys that I was training with at the training house out here in Minnesota. And these are guys that I competed against in my conference, that guys that I wanted to take their heads off and guys that wanted to come after me. So especially there's a Mankato and Concordia St Paul rivalry, and we actually became brothers. And we all drove together, carpool together, and going out there, we're like, okay, we got this. They're going to select a few guys. Why not us? And I think that was the coolest part of all, is that a lot of guys were there and we became closer. We became a family. And it was just, I think, a good experience because you could tell the coaches brought the juice and they wanted to see us succeed. And I think just the fact that there's people looking out for small school guys like us and giving us an opportunity, truthfully, that's something you can only ask for. Like, I'm just so grateful for it. And just to put us on a platform to continue on our journey, I'm just nothing but thankful.
Gotcha. I mean, during your time there, did you actually get a chance to talk to any scouts? Like, did you do any interviews or anything of that sort?
Me personally, not necessarily. It was more so after the fact. I got a couple direct messages over social media, like Twitter. Guys that sought me out, who wanted to see me do an extended tryout, maybe for a CFL tryout, even to the point of doing a rugby tryout. So it was just kind of crazy, the opportunities that came with it, and possibilities that people just, you never know who's watching. That's the crazy thing. You just never know who's watching and who has interest in you.
Yeah. So the other thing I was just kind of wanted to ask is, obviously you've had experiences here at, a couple different JUCOs, a lot there at Concordia St. Paul, and just kind of finishing out your collegiate, career at the small school showcase. What's been like your most memorable moment from all those experiences? Is there a highlight or a game that sticks out?
I think it was just coming across so many individuals. I think it was just meeting new people and building those relationships, in a team environment, in the locker room, with the wins and with the losses. We didn't do very well this last season, but I know it hit us so hard in the mouth that the team up to come from Concordia is going to go in with a little bit of grain in their, a little bit of grain on their mouth and a little bit of chip on their shoulder and go shock the world. So I think that was the best part of it all, was that as me as an individual, yes, I want to see myself exceed. I want to see myself do great things and, give myself more opportunities. But at the end of it, just reflecting at it, I'm just, like I said, I'm grateful that all the people I've come across, all the people I've been able to play with. I played with Ramondre Stevenson at Cerritos College, who's now one of the top running backs with the Patriots as a rookie. No, I mean, it's just crazy. The people, you just never know where their paths are going. And I'm just happy for everybody, and just meeting people like Chris Garrett. That's my brother for life now, and he's supporting me now, and I want to do that for the next person in line. So it's just that next person in line type of deal, and I could not be more happier than how it's played out.
Gotcha, gotcha. Again, also a lot of coaches that you've come across as well during your time. I mean, a lot of people that have poured into you, maybe helped mold you, change you a little bit. I mean, is there maybe a lesson from one of those coaches that still sticks with you today? I mean, I realize a lot of coaches, like, they have their isms that they have to throw out like every so often.
Right.
So is there one that maybe you could share?
I would say, and I have a couple actually. I would say probably here at Concordia, I had a couple. I had from my strength coach and to my head coach. We have bumped heads before. I'm not even gonna lie to you, but it was more so they can help me grow. And I, being more mature now, maybe not so when I was on the field, but now that it's all said and done, those guys really try to keep me level headed and be a team guy and be a leader. And I think that's what they're trying to bring out a lot of young athletes. It's building that character, building that persona to go carry on a team and sacrifice yourself for the team, because at the end of the day, you're doing the 5 a.m. workouts with your brother next to you. You're on the field battling it out to all fourth quarters. So I think the coaches that really stood out to me, and I'm for all of them throughout my experience, I can't name them all, but just the most recent time is my strength coach and my head coach, who I know they had their my best interest in them. And I'm just grateful, and I know they helped me grow, and I can see that now, and I definitely have grown a lot.
Since you mentioned your strength coach, I'm just kind of curious. Tell me a little bit about how your strength coach has helped you develop over the years there in the weight room. So, how has that changed since you came to college, like as a freshman?
Right. I think his approach was more the mental side. You can have all the physical tools. You can go in and have a workout, but it's more of the mentality of how intense are you approaching this workout? Are you attacking it, or are you just going through the motion type of deal? Well, what are you doing with your diet? Like what's your routine? What is your macros looking like? How much water are you drinking? So I feel like he tested you above and beyond, not so much in the weight room because the intensities, oh, that's a standard. The standard's already there. He's more so pushing you. Can you push past this standard? Can you push your own limitations and your own boundaries? He pushed me to read a book, 10 pages a day. Like I would never consider picking up a book and reading for leisure, but he pushed me to say, hey, try this out. It'll help you. It'll help you when you come in the weight room to say, okay, it's time to lock in, cancel out all the noise and attack these weights. And then you just
Awesome.
get big. You flip the switch.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, and again, when you get out there on the field, you got to be able to flick that switch, anyways. I mean, and
Right.
bring that intensity. So, cool. So, let's go ahead. I want to get a chance to meet this Kevin Ventura Cortez guy. I got to say this long name, and we're gonna have to shorten it to something else here soon. But give me a little something about yourself, if you don't mind. Something interesting, fun, unique, hobbies, interests, or anything else you got going on in your life that you want to share.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So as of now, you may not know, but I just got done with the WWE tryout. Not this past week, and it was an experience that is unforgettable. But I can get to that in a bit. I think a passion about me is that I come from a Hispanic household, and I am a first generational college student, hence my long last name. And I love working with kids. I'm the oldest of four, and I grew up without my dad, so I kind of like to play that father figure for kids I train with, kids I work with, and I was a behavior therapist at one point, so I was working with kids on the spectrum. So I know that's where my passions lie, and I know that whatever I do, I want to inspire and change people's lives, and more so the youth, and be that mentor type of aspect that I never had in my life. Obviously my coaches served that for me, but I want to help people at a younger age, help them get to the college, help them how to get recruited, just based on my experience, and be able to help them maneuver that, just like I do so for my brothers.
Sure. And you mentioned there a little bit, you had a WWE tryout. What the heck, man? I mean,
Yeah, man.
the interesting thing is, we had WWE recruits come to the Hula Bowl, so we had a chance to connect with them. And with NFL draft diamonds, our goal is to try and get guys like you, more exposure. And so we were able to link you guys up a little bit. So tell us about that whole experience, if you don't mind.
Well, first of all, you're looking at Chico Suave. That's
Okay.
that was the nickname I gave myself, and that's the persona I played the whole time. And man, it was an experience that I can never like. I never saw myself going through. It was just an experience that, man, I think I want my kids to go through. I want my teammates to go through, because it was just so unforgettable. The bond within the athletes that showed up. They brought in 51 former or current college athletes to go have a tryout in front of these amazing executives. And, even Triple H was there expectating us. And after everything he had gone through, he still had the courage to come watch us, mentor us, teach us, give us advice, and just be there for us. His presence was just felt, along with all the organizations. Like I think the word I can looking for is world class. I think the
Hmm.
partnership, I actually was able to go through the trial because of your guys' partnership. I was the first current football player to get to the WWE trial because of your guys' partnership. And so, I mean, just from day one, the atmosphere, the environment, and all the individuals, like I think everybody came in as individuals just based on like an athletic perspective, but we came out as a family. And I mean, the tryout was just from physical rolls, from physical sit-ups, push-ups, you name it, to doing promos and stepping out of our comfort zones and taking on classes. It was crazy. It was so surreal.
Okay, so since we're kind of sitting on this idea right now, we talked a little bit about maybe perhaps your favorite athlete on the gridiron. Uh,
Right.
who's your favorite athlete in that squared circle? Like, is there a wrestler that that you've just kind of been a fan of, maybe?
Right. I think growing up, the biggest fan, I have a couple, man, but I think the biggest one was probably Jeff Hardy. That man was wild, and that man just, how to run a room. Just his presence was just felt. And he was going to come in and fly out top the roof and come with something crazy. But I think just for my own sake and my pride, I grew up a Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero fan, man. And those are guys that are just my idols, truthfully. They put on for the lucha libre for back home and for other people back home. And those guys are just something else.
Yeah, bring the Latino heat, man. Like I love it. I mean, definitely, a lot of it's just kind of crazy to have that sort of Latino heritage that does get fed into the WWE. So it's definitely fun. So
Yes, sir.
let's go ahead and steer right back to football here. I mean, I know recently you had a pro day. And that pro day obviously was for football. So how did that go overall? Like, give me some sort of feedback as to how that was for you.
Right. Overall, I think going into it, it was the most anticipated moment I've had in my entire life because you're being put on the biggest pedestal and the biggest stage of your entire career. This is the representation of all the hard work, all the accolades, all the whole adversity you've been through just to get to this one moment. And at first, it was kind of nerve wracking to let it all settle in a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it was humbling. It was truthfully humbling. It was even better because I went in with the same guys I went with the training house with, who went to CGS, who ended up going to the same pro day with me. So it made it that much better. And I think as the day went on, it was just an experience. It was like, man, we deserve to be here. We've earned this. We're meant to be here. It's time to perform. And this is just another day at the office, another day to get paid. And I think I got paid. I think overall, just everything I did it to my best ability. I may have not been the fastest, strongest, or the quickest out there, but I know my presence was felt, and I know what I did it to my best capabilities. And hopefully somebody saw that. Hopefully somebody saw something in me and are looking to give me a shot. And that's all I can ask for again, is just those continued opportunities.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, I do want you to just kind of close this out, if you don't mind. A very last thing. So, I mean, I know that there perhaps might be some scouts out there that are wondering about you, that perhaps want to give you a shot at the next level. So, I want you to hit them with your pitch, man. Give them one last promo. Tell them why they need to take a chance on you. Um, Kevin Ventura Cortez, not this Rico dude that you were talking about, but the football player.
Yes,
So
sir.
tell them why they need to take a chance on the football player and bring them into their franchise. So go ahead and hit them with your pitch.
I think you're going to get a checkmate when you put Kevin Ventura Cortez, the football player, in their schemes. I think you're going to get a versatile mismatch playmaker, whether it's blocking, whether it's in the run game, whether it's running a route in the pass game, slot, flexed out wide, in line, backfield, special teams. I think you're going to get a player that can do a little bit of all. I mean, I don't think I've reached my fullest potential, and I'm ready to learn from the best. You can mold me to be what exactly you need me to be, because I'm just that person to go out there and grind and go get what's mine. I'm confident in who I am, but I know I could be that much better with, the right people in my corner. So I'm ready to go knock it out the ballpark, and let's go win some games.
Nice. Well, I mean, I do feel like you're, your experience really as a defensive player. I feel like that will really help carry over a little bit, even more so into that your position as a tight end. I mean, obviously having that physicality, that mindset, that aggression, when you're out there on the field. I mean, whether it be, there in the red zone trying to maneuver yourself, or in the blocking game, or things like that. So definitely a guy who has some potentials. People need to go back, maybe watch your film, see if they could find something on you. So do wish you best of luck in this process. All right, bud.
Yes, sir. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
No problem. Again, I have with me Kevin Ventura Cortez, tight end out of Concordia St. Paul. Definitely check him out.